Hello, this is Janet Michael. In addition to hosting The Valley Today each weekday at noon on the River 95.3, I also produce podcasts, and I'm excited to introduce you to a new podcast series in partnership with Lord Fairfax Community College. Having provided higher education and career training for the past half-century, LFCC is tightly interwoven into the fabric of the Northern Shenandoah Valley and Piedmont regions. Join me every week for conversations with current and former students to hear their funny and inspiring stories as we learn about their journey to higher education, the role that LFCC has played, where they are now, and where they plan to go. We'll also talk to current and former professors about their experiences and best memories of LFCC over the past 50 years. Get every single episode as they're released on our website at theriver953.com under the podcast tab, or you can subscribe for free in Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, on Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you listen to podcasts. Just search for LFCC Stories. Hello and welcome to The Valley Today. I am your host, Janet Michael. Happy Tuesday as you are listening to the show today. It is Tourism Tuesday, of course, and it is the fourth Tuesday of the month. That means it is Winchester Frederick County Convention and Visitors Center Bureau's turn at the mic. Justin Kearns is staring at me on the Zoom screen. We just had a 15-minute conversation running through our head what has happened in 2020 so that we didn't miss anything while we were on the air. And, you know, Justin, I feel a little bit better about 2020 and the impact that it's had on tourism and our economy in Winchester and Frederick County.
We have a long list, and it's more on the positive than on the negative. So that's, relatively speaking, that's good. That's good. Obviously, there's been some rough times, and we've unfortunately lost some businesses, and there's some businesses that are still out there that are struggling right now. But we've also had some really good success stories as well, and we've had some new openings and some. Just a resilient base here. There's such a tough community here, so just take the punches and keep going. So we're good. This is an awesome community here, so it's absolutely awesome. But yeah, so we can kind of get into that. But yeah.
Well, so before we do that, though, let's talk for a second about tourism and the impact tourism has had from COVID in 2020, because COVID wasn't on the front pages in January, but even if it had been, your budget and what you were going to do in your plan was already set and ready to go before January of 2020, wasn't it?
Correct. Yes. Our budgets are set. So we're fiscal year, not calendar year. So we're July to June. So our budget this year that we're in right now started July 1, but that's all done back in like November. So that was all written out. So our budget for next year that starts in July is already done. We already voted on it. It's already done. It's on the books. So it's a guess, what's going to be happening a year and a half from now. I don't know.
Well, you never could have guessed this.
No,
we were putting that budget together.
Right. Which we're, and just a quick note on that, oh my gosh, we're so fortunate, so fortunate. So the county had very, very kindly and generously changed the funding mechanism that funded us. So it went from just money out of the general fund to a dedicated amount of bed tax. So there's nothing out of the general fund. It's all total. Nobody's, property taxes or sales tax, none of that is coming to us. It's all 100% from the county side. It's all 100% from lodging taxes. So people come, they spend the night, they pay, whatever, couple percent, 3.5%, and we get a portion of that. So in all that's 100% of what comes into our budget from the county. So we're very fortunate with that. That actually increased significantly how much money we were getting. That contribution from the county side. So we had a buffer built in. We had this larger buffer built in, and we hadn't hired anybody new. It was still just me and Renee here. So when the whole COVID thing hit and revenues dropped way down, it didn't wipe us out because we hadn't built much of that into our budget anyways. Most of that was just marketing dollars, and we're able to trim marketing dollars without letting anybody go, or without closing down, or without, drastically changing any of our strategies. So we were able to we're very, very fortunate. There are counterparts of mine in larger urban areas who are still 80% down in their lodging revenues, and they're funded by their lodging revenues too. So they have staffs of 15, 20 people. They had staffs of 15, 20 people, and they're down 80%. They're this whole engine that's built around this, and they've just had the rug pulled out from underneath them. So relatively speaking, we are very, very fortunate. If it could have hit in a year, this is the best year it could have hit in for us financially. So we're still okay. We're still going to be okay.
And
Um,
what kind of drop did you see in lodging numbers over 2020? Because I know we've talked about this a couple of times over the course of the last year on the show, and it's been kind of up and down.
well, it was a huge cliff, and then we've been slowly coming back up. There's week to week is kind of up and down and unpredictable, but the long curve is fairly predictable at this point, and we've stayed on. So April was down 80%. Um, May was down 65% in revenues, in lodging revenues and occupancies. And then, we're at 50%, and then 40%, and then, about 20%. And so now we're hovering in the 15% down, 15 to 20% down year over year, based off of what the previous year was. So that's kind of what our revenues are right now, is about 15, 20% down. But yeah, April was the worst. April was dismal everywhere.
Now, with COVID still active, I mean, vaccines are coming out, but we're hearing that it's probably going to be the middle of next year before we return to anything that even slightly resembles what we thought normal was.
And that's with no bumps in the road.
Yeah, exactly. That's with, I was reading on the news this morning about a new strain, a new,
Right.
more transmissible version of COVID that's
In the
hitting over
UK, that's
in Europe.
still right.
And yeah, that all of that aside, how can you take what you've learned and what you've experienced in 2020 and now apply that to 21? I mean, what are you looking at moving into the new year?
Well, the biggest thing for us is trying to understand the consumer. That's the hardest part of this, and that's been the biggest learning curve, and that's changing on a weekly basis, is understanding the consumer and the consumer desires. Um, who's traveling? Who wants to travel? Are events still happening? Are people still having their weddings? Um, leisure travel is pretty easy. We've been able to predict that from almost the very beginning. We knew what people were going to want. We knew that people were going to need to get out of these dense urban areas. They weren't going to want to have to travel too far, 1 to 2 hours, but they wanted to be able to get out and come out to a less crowded, beautiful setting, small towns, farm markets, all that stuff. So we saw our farm markets were nut. If you tried to go to a farm market this summer or this fall, it was nuts. It was bananas, because we knew that was coming. Though we knew that was coming. Our old town saw pretty good numbers. We saw a lot of people from out of the area come into the area. So we knew that. We were able to predict that. The harder thing is those events. A lot of our hotels rely on events. A lot of our event centers, obviously, we have a lot of wedding destination venues. So that's the hard part, is understanding whether that's going to happen. Understanding whether or not the sports tourism, is that going to happen? Are teams going to be traveling this coming year? So that's the harder thing to predict. Applying, I guess, trudging forward with the leisure, obviously with the leisure, and then lessons that we've learned from our successful businesses, what restaurants have done well, that we're able to kind of share with other restaurants and our other businesses, and say, hey, this is what's been working really well in the industry. This is what's come out of this, and this is how we can move forward. So we're going to look at maybe January or February, some things that have come out of this, some lessons that we've learned in the industry that we'll be able to share with the rest of our businesses. So we'll be getting that out in
And
the
it's
cold.
interesting that you say know the consumer. I did a webinar for the Front Royal Chamber last week on 5 marketing musts that small businesses should be doing in 2021. And the first one was know your customer, because the days of anybody with money is not who your customer is anymore. And you really do have to understand who the people are that are walking in the door. And it's kind of even more unique for you, because it's easy for a small business to know specifically who their customer is, but you have to know who the traveler is, and then hope that the small businesses that you have around you as the attractants are
Right.
understanding and are
Yeah.
offering what you want to bring those travelers to the area to experience.
Right. And so data comes into that, a lot of tracking and data, which we are fortunately able to. We do still have a little bit more money than we did, even with all the down. We still have a little bit more, so we're able to invest some of that in data and understanding who's coming, where they're coming from, the type of traveler that's coming, so that we're able to use that and then translate that and be able to multiply that, because that's going to be the same traveler that's going to be coming for at least the next probably 4, 5, 6 months, until hopefully we get on the other end of this, as best we can. And then what's going to happen is there this huge, I mean, has everyone been coming out to these small areas and they've been doing this for 6 months now, or in another almost a year, and then all of a sudden everybody's going to go, hey, I can go back to the cities, and we're going to be, it's going to be like, wait a minute, hey, come back out here, please. Is that going to be the situation? Or there's still going to be a lot of people that are still edgy and like, no, we don't really want to do it? Are there people that have never been out here before that have come out that love it and go, I don't want to go back to these big, we don't know. We don't know. That's the huge question out of this, is what's going to happen to the traveler mindset once they're able to feel more comfortable traveling again. Are they all going to go to Europe all of a sudden? It's going to be
Well, I'm pretty
crickets.
sure that at this point they're not going to go to Europe. Europe's not letting anybody in right now. So at
Right.
least in the short term, they're not going to go to Europe. But you're right.
Or
That was the other part of the presentation that I was doing, is you've got to understand, when I say the normal, that normal that we experienced a year ago is not going to be the exact duplicate of what you're going to get once we get into full on vaccine territory. So there are going to be pieces of that people have gotten used to new things, and they're going to want to continue those new things. And I think what you're going to find is a mix of both. People who came out really enjoyed it, and they're going to still do the city stuff, but they're also going to appreciate and still come back out to
kind
some
of
of
hooked
our
on the
communities at the same
right.
time.
Because we do a lot of, we hear that a lot from our farm markets and a lot from our smaller businesses. People start traditions, and in small towns and experiential type things are traditions that people want to do year after year. So, oh, hey, we went out there, we want to go back out there again. We want to see, our life has changed like crazy, but we can go out to somewhere where we know it's going to be the same experience that it was last year. So we're going to get that, and we hope for that. But we don't know.
Yeah, you
I
don't know
hate
what kind of numbers you're going to get from that. There's going to be some of it, but how much is
right.
almost impossible to predict right now.
I mean, in all these Canadian travelers, they've been dammed up there. They, the wall is up there. They have not been able to get across the border. Is there going to be this flood of Canadians just coming down to the U.S.? Because if they do, they're going to come right on through 81. They come plowing on through here. So I don't know. I don't know. That's the hardest thing. The hardest thing is that we just, and it's been like that since March 17th.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what's going to happen next week?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. We can look at data, we can look at projections, we can look at polling. That's kind of the best thing we can do, and look at ourselves. I try to look at myself, and I try to look at my family and my friends, and what are they talking about? What are they saying? Because that's some of the most valuable thing is you can project what other people are going to do, but there's a lot of it. I'm feeling the same that a lot of everybody else is. So look at yourself. What are you
Yeah.
feeling? What do you feel like you need to do this year? Do you feel like you need to go to a big city? Like, I'm dying, I got to get back to New York City. That's probably what you're going to see. You're probably going to see a lot of that rush into these. But is it just going to be short term?
Yeah.
Or are you just going to see
And are
those
they
big
going to do it and then realize, this isn't what I remembered? I
right?
had glorified it while I was in quarantine, and
And
now
is
I'm
the
back to the
experience going to be the
reality, and I'm
same?
thinking, I really like the farmer's market better than I like Times Square.
Right. So I mean, we'll see. And is experience going to be the same? Because humans have a way of idealizing things in our minds. Of I remember all the great, wonderful things. Like we did that when we used to live in Los Angeles. We moved away from Southern California for a reason. It was nuts. It was not a good place to raise family, but we moved away, and all of a sudden we missed all these things. We missed our favorite restaurants. We missed this. We missed that. Missed being able to go to the beach. And so you idealize the memories. You
Yeah.
remember all the great things. And then we went back out to visit like a year and a half later, and we're like, oh my God, the traffic, and it's dirty and it's expensive and it's hard to get places, and it's just, we're like, okay, we see, I understand why we didn't do this. I see
Yeah.
why we
Reality took a hold again,
it
and you
did
were,
it
yeah.
did
Well,
so we'll see if that's what hits people when they go back to these big cities. And I don't know. We'll see. It's a big I don't know right now. So the best we're going to do is try to capitalize on our marketing. So, and I can get into that in the second segment, but we've got a whole campaign that we're going to launch in March. It has been developed over like a year and a half now, so we've got a fantastic strategy built behind it. So we're going to forge ahead with that and be able to be nimble and transition with that if we need to adjust our messaging. But we're going to forge ahead because we still have to market our destination.
mhm.
I mean, that's not going to change whether we market the destination. We are still going to do that. It's just who we need to market it to and what that message exactly is going to be might need to shift. But fortunately, we're small and we can act quickly. So
Well, let's take a quick break and come back and talk a little bit more about that and talk about some of these businesses that we mentioned at the top of the show that have managed to come through, some that sadly haven't, and just kind of what impact that's had overall on tourism and your ability to be able to get those people to come. Can we do all that in the next segment?
absolutely, no
Okay.
problem.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Justin Kearns from the Winchester Frederick County Convention and Visitors Bureau. It is, of course, Tourism Tuesday. As you are listening to the show today, we are pre recording, though, on a Monday morning. Regardless of that, we're still going to be back in just a couple of minutes.
Got a financial decision to make or a goal to reach, but you don't know where to start? You've come to the right place. Introducing Quick Money Chats with the Northern Shenandoah Valley Financial Education Program. Visit tinyurl.com/quickmoneychat to schedule a virtual chat with a staff member or trained volunteer. We won't tell you what to do, but we will give you the tools you need to choose wisely. And because Virginia Cooperative Extension is part of Virginia Tech and Virginia State, your land-grant universities, you can be sure that our information is credible and trustworthy. And you'll know that we aren't trying to sell you something. Maybe you want to improve your credit score, or reduce your banking overdraft fees, or even figure out if you can afford to buy that car. Sorting through tons of information on the internet can be overwhelming, and sometimes it can be hard to know who to trust. Schedule a Quick Money Chat and get the information you need to take action. Go to tinyurl.com/quickmoneychat and get financial education personalized for you.
Welcome back to the Valley today. I am your host, Janet Michael. Happy Tourism Tuesday. As you are listening to the show today, we are chatting on the Zoom screen with Justin Kearns from the Winchester Frederick County Convention and Visitors Bureau. In the first segment, we talked a little bit about the impact that COVID has had on tourism in our area. And Justin, we were talking when we went to break about your plan moving forward, because tourism may look a little different, but it doesn't stop because of a pandemic or coming out of a pandemic.
People don't stop people have been traveling since people were human beings. Like it's thousands of years people have been traveling. There have been inns in restaurants for as long as there have been human beings, because people travel. There's an inherent thing. People have to travel. They just have to do it. People will travel. People will keep traveling. They will keep spending money. They will keep looking for new experiences or going back and having experience that they've had in the past. So that will not stop. That will never stop. You can try to stop people and it won't. You can stay at home and they won't.
Like, yeah, we've seen that already.
Right. So people will continue to travel. It's just how they're going to travel and where they're going to spend their money and what they're going to be looking for. I think as soon as people are able to eat inside and feel comfortable eating inside, oh my God, the first thing I know, the first like 4 restaurants I'm going to go eat it. I got to go in and just sit down and have a meal, and driving me crazy. So I think that's going to be a big boom. It's just the restaurants need to survive until we get to that. And some of them are scraping here. We're scraping right by, and
we've lost a few. I mean, there are a few that it was directly due to COVID. Some were going to close anyway. Some had nothing to do with COVID. They just happened to close because in the middle of the pandemic.
Yeah, and we were talking about that, about who's closed. And I figure it's worth mentioning them just because, it's a loss in our community, and it's not something you sweep under the
they fought the good fight, but people need to realize that there are real consequences to your buying and eating decisions, even in a pandemic.
And so down your way, so Nana's, unfortunately we lost Nana's Irish Pub, which they're fantastic. Hopefully there's life again in that building.
Hey, you heard me when you had Jim on last month with talking about the empanada shop. You heard me pushing hard for him to reopen Nana's.
Hopefully there's another story to be had down there. Who else did we lose? Firefly, which was one of my favorites, and that was really sad because again, that's sad on a couple levels because of the nonprofit and the folks that a lot of the folks they were employing and their mission. So that was really, really sad to lose them. Plus they were one of my favorite restaurants personally. Oh, yeah. That was really sad to lose them. The German Table, we lost them, but again, with the loss, we had new life in there. So with the German Table leaving, we had the empanada shop move in. So we kind of have that cycle of life here. So like you were saying, life still keeps going on. There's still that cycle going on, regardless of the pandemic. There's the life cycle going on of businesses. Moe's, we lost Moe's. That wasn't due to the pandemic. He was crazy busy. He was
exhausted.
Right, he was exhausted, and I think he might have moved back to where his family was. But again, Jim bought that place, so now we're going to have another donut shop in there. And then we have more new, I think, than we have old. We've had more new openings this year than we've had closings, which we're very, very fortunate. Again, very fortunate where we are, very fortunate with our community. We've got the Empanada place, the wine room opened at the Taylor Pavilion. He's been doing really well. The Daily Buzz down in Stevens City, I know that one's been doing really well.
I've
love
been
that.
there a couple of times.
Yeah. Royalicious Bagels, they've been doing really well. They're over in the old Daily Grind spot over by the kids consignment place that I want to call it Played Against Sports because that's in my brain because I'm a sports guy. Over there on Jupiter Early next.
Abrams Crossing.
Yes. So Royalicious Bagels, we've got two new hotels that have opened. No hotels. Well, we had one hotel closed, but that was kind of a Shenandoah University transition sort of thing. But we have Comfort Inn and Spring Hill Suites have opened. The Innovault space open, you were mentioning in Old Town. So, and there's a couple of clothing shops, a couple of boutiques that have opened actually in the Old Town area. And some of our shops have been doing crazy good. They've had crazy good years. And some have had challenging years. So hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, it was the year of the pivot. I mean, you mentioned earlier knowing the consumer. You had to know who your customer was. Some businesses had to change what their inventory was. Some had to change their hours. Some had to offer curbside. I mean, they really did, if they wanted to keep that business going, had to make some hard decisions and some serious changes to their business models to be able to stay. But they did it. I mean, I thought it was the coolest thing when Emily started doing the pottery to go kits at Polka Dot Pot. I mean, that to me was awesome. And I had talked to Christine at the book gallery and she's like, I didn't really have to change much because we were already doing all of this. I just had to start reminding people that we were already doing it.
We're doing it.
And she's done well. So yeah, a lot of them really have managed to come out ahead and are moving full steam ahead. And there's still time to shop at either of those places before Christmas because this is airing on Tuesday before Christmas. Gift certificates are the best certificates ever.
Yes. And we still got time. Great shopping. Oh my gosh, so much shopping. That's right. This is like 2 days before Christmas. Shop local. It so makes a difference, everybody shops on Amazon. Everybody does it. I'm not going to tell people not to shop on Amazon, but just redirect some of it. If everybody redirects one purchase, if you're buying for 10 people this year, if you're buying gifts for 10 people, pick one of those 10 people and get something local from a local shop. That makes a huge difference. If everybody, 100,000 people that lives here in Winchester, 115,000 people, if every one of them decided to make one purchase at a local shop versus, that's 115,000 transactions,
And
that's
I
huge.
find it easier too. Tim and I were having this conversation over the weekend, and he's like, I still don't know what to get you for Christmas. Give me a list of what you want. I said, I'm not going to give you a list of what I want, but I'll give you a list of places you can go.
There you go.
So, and that was basically, the Old Town Winchester. You can go here, go here, go here. Some of those people know me well enough that if you walk in and tell Christine, hey, I'm looking for something for Janet, she will load you up. So that's, yes, I bought Amazon because the kid took my crock pot home with him when he was home at Thanksgiving, and I need my crock pot back. So I bought him a crock pot from Amazon.
Right,
you're not going to get that in Old Town Winchester. You're not going to necessarily help a local business buying a crock pot, but I'm going to make up for it by sending Tim to all of those places to get stuff for me.
Right. So just, again, even if it's just one thing, it's worth it, and it makes a big difference. And MSV, the Museum of the Shenandoah Valley, has a fantastic gift shop. Belle Grove has an amazing gift shop. She's been doing really good. Her gift shop's been doing fantastic. And if you
talk about an experience, I mean, Kristen was on a few weeks ago talking about their tours. That's a great experience to give if you do have the kids at home. It's history, it's education, and
there's
it's cool
still
and fun.
something to do. There's still something to do, and they're very small groups, and it's a large, spacious place where you can safely do a tour. So there is still stuff that you can do. You can still get out of the house, and not just go out your front door.
Well, we're running out of time, and I know we're not going to get to talk any about your marketing plan like we mentioned, because I do want to make sure that we touch in the last 2 minutes on First Night Winchester, because they are still going on, but they've had to also pivot and make some serious changes in order to have that event this year.
Correct. So if you go, the easiest thing to do is just to tell people to go to firstnightwinchester.com. That's the easiest thing to do. And check out, they're very good on their website. They're very clear. It's pretty much all virtual. You can tune in. There's a couple of different ways you can tune in. They've got a YouTube channel and some streaming thing on their website. So you can tune in, for free and go in. And there's
ways warm.
And stay warm. No fireworks. So I know people, they were planning originally on doing fireworks. They've shuttered the fireworks idea, which is very sad, but they just couldn't risk the people clumping, and people were going to clump. So just go on their website. That's the easiest thing to do. Just Google First Night Winchester and see what they're doing. There is still a lot of stuff going on. There's still stuff for the kids to do and kids to see. And they start at 2 p.m. on December 31st, like they normally would. So they are starting all their live streaming stuff. So go on, and there's still a way to donate. If you can donate $5, they need it. We want to keep them around. We would love to have them around still next year. So even though a lot of this stuff is free, please, if you've got $5 left over at the end of the year, if you haven't spent $5 of your stimulus check, if you still got $5 laying over, just
and I'm one of those weird people too, that when people say, well, I don't know what to get you for Christmas, donate. Give $20 to First Night in my name. Give $20 to the United Way in my name. Those are things that I would love for you to do, and that they're so much easier. They're easy to do.
One less thing for you to figure out which shelf to put it on. Right?
Yeah, I'm running, as you can see from my screen, I'm running out of places to put the orange coffee mugs that people are getting for me. So we got to wrap up in less than a minute, but I have to ask you about this because 3 different guests have now talked about this on radio shows. You have something on the Visitor Center website about driving around and looking at Christmas lights.
Oh my gosh, this is like the simplest thing. I'm glad it got all this response. It's just, we saw on all the local message boards, people kept asking, where can we go to see Christmas lights? Where can we go see Christmas lights? So I was like, okay, well, obviously there's a need. So let me come up with a blog for this. So I came up I went on all the different webs, all the different blogs, all the different, chat sites, and just developed this list and put it together and did a blog for it. So if you go under our blogs, visit winchesterva.com. And I think Renee put it on since we're Zooming and we have this amazing ability that I can multitask. Don't tell my wife. You can actually multitask, and there it is, 2020 Christmas Lights Guide. It's right on our front page. So if you just go and visit winchesterva.com, it's one of the tiles on the front. So we got a lights guide, tells you all the different neighborhoods, some individual standout houses, radio stations to dial to that the homes have their lights set to. We threw all that in there. And as we find out new ones, we're putting them in there. So
fantastic. Yeah, we talked about it with Valley Health when I had them on last week for new traditions to be able to start in the pandemic for Christmas. And then I think Cynthia mentions it. I was going to say mentioned it, but nobody's going to hear that till tomorrow when that show airs. But Cynthia's going to mention it tomorrow. Again. I'm predicting the future, and Cynthia will talk about it tomorrow for the Valley Business Today. So visit winchester.com, first place to go.
Visit winchesterva.com. And then you'll just see, it's right on the front. It's 2020 Christmas Lights Guide. You can click on that, and that's the blog. So it's got a whole list. It's got an interactive map. So I did a Google map on there. So it actually, you can just click on that map and it shows you where everything is. So you can just use that map to drive around.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, my friend. Merry Christmas. And I look forward to seeing you in 2021.
Yes. Thank you for supporting all things local. We love it. So we love the opportunity to come on. So thank you. Merry Christmas.
And as I mentioned, I'll be back tomorrow, a few minutes after noon. Cynthia Snyder from the Top of Virginia Regional Chamber is going to share the Zoom screen with me. We're going to do a chamber year in review and talk about the business impact of COVID-19 in our local community. So meet me here tomorrow, just a couple of minutes after noon.